Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second uh, MOOCs live session for this course, Ecology and Society. Uh, Please join in and then post in your questions in the chat box. I'll be happy to respond to it. So meanwhile, what I do is briefly discuss an overview, give an overview of what we have done in the past few weeks. Mainly, we have delved into uh, few important themes, and I'll try to be very brief and then summarize all this. So, in continuation to what we have done in the first live MOOC session, we have roughly 4 weeks of lectures, and then we have covered so far some important domains of, say, the conceptions of nature, contested domains and boundaries of nature, where we engage looking at some of the uh, nature of how there are certain central concerns within the discipline of anthropology, particularly the field of folk sciences and cultural ecology. So if we had, at length discussed the issues of ecology in the broadest sense of the term, which has been uh, relegated to the margin of anthropological discussions. And one of the main emphasis of this particular course is also to engage in the rethinking nature-society interface by looking broadly within the subdisciplines of ecological anthropology. So we have also looked at the nature of the symbolic ecology and social practices by taking some of the works, for instance, Emile Durkheim and then um, Levi Strauss, for instance. So Strauss at length, emphasizes the dualism of nature culture oppositions by particularly engaging with the structuralist approach. So he advocates uh, a remarkably naturalistic conception of the working of the mind and how different knowledge systems operate in different contexts. So many of Levi Strauss' work to that extent has been drawn mostly in his mythological materials, which are largely drawn from the native societies of Americas, where he attempted to distinguish nature from culture. So uh, we can also see certain forms of where the anthropologist engages in trying to explain the nature of these totemic systems and anemic systems, which of course reflects two such modes of identification. Now, I'm not going into details of what totemic system or anemic system is all about. As I said, I'm just randomly trying to, pinpoint and brush up what we have discussed so far. We have also familiarized ourselves with the concept of naturalism by looking at the works of Bruno Latour and his modes of uh, categorization. Now there is a standard folk taxonomies of categorizing particularly plants and animals, which are often organized according to the principles of similarity, uh, which is more of a metaphoric scheme. And in that we could see the reciprocity is a part of where the dominance belief system in that human have adapt towards the non-humans uh, elements. So we can also see that as a dominant mode of relation, which we can perhaps look into the nature protection, thus have been mediated between humans and the non-human species. So there are different forms of naturalistic variations, particularly in the naturalistic cosmology, and there, of course, there can be no common grounds between humans and non-humans. Some of the queries I'll definitely get back to you in a moment time. So what I'm doing now is trying to look into some of the themes which we have looked into. We have also delved into looking at the contested domains and boundaries of culture by looking upon the human evolutionary ecology, and this is currently one of the most important areas of research within ecological anthropology. So both in cases such as environmental orientalism and paternalism, humans are perceived to be masters of nature because the former exploits and the latter protects. So therefore, the notions of this communalism differs from both in that it involves the rejections of any radical distinctions between nature and society and between science and practical knowledge. So we have also looked into some of the foraging behavior of the earliest forms of human societies, particularly the human hunter-gatherers, uh, and their relationship with non-human counterparts. So this can be, understood with the specific environmental context with regards to cognitive algorithms, drawing upon the works of Darwin and of course the optimal foraging theory, which has to a large extent try to look into the relations between the human of that period of the hunting gathering society. So we as a human being, right from the historical period of time, thus engage in culture and choice, where, for instance, the four ages are basically trying to engage in uh, choices, that is, by making up a strategy of adjustment to ecological conditions and the adaptive pattern which result from the evolutionary processes. So I've given an example of the Cree people of the Muskrat Dam Lake in northern Ontario, giving at length about how the Cree hunter is uh, engaged in their uh, games. So hunters, for instance, are faced with choices that the choices they make up to a pattern, and that this pattern changes in response to alterations, for example, by the introductions of new technology. So technology, to some extent, has an overriding impact on human culture and their choices. And for instance, the hunter's decisions conform closely but to what might be modeled as the optimal strategy for a forager seeking to maximize the need uh, to the rate of the energy gained. So one question which comes in this particular, theme is that how behavior of a certain kind has evolved by the natural uh, selection. Okay. So far as non-human animals are concerned, we could see that whatever the merits of these assumptions, once our attention turns to human beings, it looks decidedly unrealistic in nature. So there has been the classic debate in mostly in the disciplines of economic anthropology between formalism and substantivism, and Weber has given distinctions between the formal and the substantive aspects of human rationality. So some of the uh, important points which sort of comes up in class is that uh, solve the assignment in class. Okay, so does human evolutionary ecology offers such an account? So one can see that uh, based on the works of Simons, wherein he put that the evolutionary ecology is concerned with the adaptiveness of behaviors, whereas properly determined account should be concerned with the idea of adaptation. So some of you are, inquiring whether I should be solving the assignment in class or not. I'm not sure about this, whether I'm supposed to do this in the class or not. I'll be in touch with some of the people concerned, and then try to engage with that. So please bear us for the time being, and then I'll get back to you. So we have also touched upon the very concepts such as enculturations and enskillment, that is the transformations of cultural information, which can be perhaps distinguished from the experience of its application in a particular sets of its usage. So therefore, we could see there's a contrast between two forms of learning, social and individual. So most often, this cultural transmission is particularly viewed as a simple process of copying, in which there is a whole of inventory rules and representations which can be emulated into the passively receptive mind of the novice. So we all know that human beings are not born with a ready-made architecture of specialized acquisition mechanisms. To the extent such mechanisms to exist, they could only emerge within a process of what we call as the ontogenic development. So in the second week, we also look into the paradigms in the human environmental relations by taking three important concepts, that is Orientalism, paternalism, and communalism. So some of the distinctions which we perhaps engage in looking at, that is nature and society, where there is a key constructions of the modernist discourse, and the three paradigms which I mentioned, Orientalism, paternalism, and communalism. The paradigm of communalism differs from the other two because it rejects the radical separations of nature and society, object and subject, by emphasizing the notions of dialogue. So we looked at the nature of society in the medieval Europe, and see where this binary of between the nature and culture, or human and culture, are being created. So one of the contrasts between the dominations and protection with respect to the environment, which necessarily tries to point the differences between them, is that while the former exploits and the latter protects. So therefore, we could say that the third paradigm, that is communalism, emerged by rejecting the other two. And this paradigm on the other hand, suggest a generalized reciprocity in human environmental relations by invoking the notions of contingency, participations, and dialogue. So therefore, we also engage in looking at the analogies of the human world and the natural environment. I also touch upon the Orientalist exploitations of where we engage looking at some of the anthropologies, mainly the works of Malinowski, and paternalism on the other hand involve privileging scientific expertise, and also the whole dynamics of the relative power of experts and relations. So much on that communalism, this paradigm in the Toto rejected the separation of nature and society, and notions of certainty and monologue, which emphasize contingency and dialogue. So unlike paternalism, communalism suggests that there is a generalized reciprocity and exchange, often metaphorically. Okay. So the other, theme which we look into is the nature, culture, magic, and science, which perhaps is, an important point by engaging with the works of the conceptual dualism of nature and culture, particularly by taking the works of Levi-Strauss. So concepts such as magic and science are investigated with a particular the magic and science are investigated with particular reference to their dualist use in anthropology discourse and to a wider philosophical debates. And we also engage in the epistemological truths in anthropology. And also we further engage upon looking at the presumed dualism of nature and culture by looking how a body of the scientific knowledge is different from what we understood in witchcraft, magics, and oracles. Wittgenstein argues that the Gandhi notions about witchcraft cannot be compared with the Western science, because its sets of notions, that is the Gandhi and the Western scientifics, are based on language games of a given community and cannot be judged according to an independent reality or a meta languages. So we also look into the emic-ethic distinctions in ethnoscience and how ethnoscience is tied to the emic side of the emic-ethic distinctions, because ethno is in most cases used to prefix names of disciplines that Western epistemology considers to be an objective science, which are based on the rigors of hypothetical deductive method. So in the last part of the week, we also look into how religion plays an important role in cases of the environmental crisis, where how religion is being perceived historically and how religion has been, teaching us to perceive and to act on non-human nature in terms of a particular human interest, belief, and social structure. So some of the questions which we delve upon in this particular theme is that how has religion shaped our understanding and our conduct towards nature, and how has the environmental crisis challenged and transformed modern theology and spiritual practices. So with this, we begin looking at the historical roots of our ecological crisis, particularly by taking the works of Lynn White and where the Western traditions of technology and science are perceived to be, the main causes, and then where Christian religion has been perceived to be an anthropocentric in that sense, which is backed by the idea of this Western scientific tradition. So we have also at length looked at the Christian worldview, and then to that extent, we also looked into how biodiversity conservation ethics, which are being outlined or delineated in the context of the Buddhist teachings and precepts, and then also how their engagement of water conservations, or for that matter, how nature has been conserved in the past. And also we move on to looking at what the relationship between the Hinduism and nature conservations, where it talks about the sanctity of life drawn from some of the religious texts, and notions of these ahimsa or non-violence has also been looked upon, where respect for flora and fauna are being seen in many of the ancient texts, like Portilius Arthasastra, uh, where the idea of where pollutions, the prohibitions are being strictly outlined. We have also looked into the notions of where biodiversity conservations, or the um, environmental ethics which are put forward by the Bisnoise communities are largely expressed. So, and then to conclude the roles of religion in environmental crisis, we also look into the ecological crisis, which is a common call by Pope John Paul as the ecological crisis as a common responsibility, wherein he quote from different portions of the biblical text and says that we human beings are all steward in that sense, and therefore we should not engage in exploitations of nature. Rather, we all are a custodian of resources. Yeah, some of these questions then seems to be from this course. Okay. So if you have any, queries or doubts, you can also, personally email to me, and then I'll be happy to respond. So for now, I am signing off, and I look forward to having another interaction session sometime soon, after completing a couple of weeks and lectures, definitely. Thank you for listening. I'll stop here.